Hey, you guys, and welcome to American Culture. So it is almost midnight here, so don't judge, but I just had a revelation and I must speak on this. So, you know how God kind of works in cycles, and those of you who are out there watching, since I believe on being on the same little vibration, wavelength, whatever you want to call it, you probably feel the same way as me. Your life is good, it's not bad, but my goodness, this phase has to end. Like, I know God has so much more for me, and I'm so close, and I feel it. And the day-to-day monotony just ain't cutting it no more. So I was feeling a little bit like, I would say sad, somewhat depressed, not in like a, oh, well, me, but just like a dang, the same day again. And I've come to realize, due to my faith, that you experience these low moments before God exalts you. So I don't really stay in the badness anymore. I look forward to the good. With that being said, I went ahead and made that video because, I'm being consistent. I went ahead and made that video about you need therapy in Jesus. And it's a lot about how we carry things from our childhood into our adulthood and make them again. And you need therapy so that you can see that in Jesus, so you can see who you are and where you're going. And God gave me a revelation, which is what I'm about to talk about. It basically sums up and ends this part. I told you guys before, go back and watch the other videos, that I had done the separating from the family. I had walked into the promised land, and it's basically you being loved for you where you are. No matter at, you just love being you. And the way all this started was a few months ago. God started to really have me pay attention, do like a case study on the Garden of Eden, and really see how sin entered the world, what Eve was doing, the whole 9 yards. And so right after that video that I just made about, how you need therapy, God said, go back to the Garden of Eden. Because I said, Lord, I want out of this. I want to be able to move forward. And what God was telling me, you guys, is that sin entered the world when Adam bit the apple. And Adam bit the apple by way of influence. He didn't stop and say, hey, Eve, sweetheart, where did you get this from? He didn't ask God. He didn't stand on his own authority. He just accepted it. And so that's what so many of us do from our childhood. We just kind of accept whatever our parents say. We just take it and run with it, and then that becomes the sin that we live out. But do we ever really stop about and think about Eve? You see, humanity at this point, when it was just the two of them, all they did was receive and then do. And God really wants us to live in that. In fact, that is faith, that I am simply going to wait on God and then do what he says. I don't have to have things here to do first. And what happened was Eve was tempted by the snake to become a consumer and then do. Literally, the snake said, hey, listen, all of this, if you just eat this, you'll then be able to do this. And so the first original sin was deviating from the I receive and then create, and settling for the I need to consume in order to create. And that's when God spoke to me. He said, Alicia, that is the shift that you're making in your life. You are switching from a consumer to a receiver. You are stopping the mindset that you were influenced to think you need to work in order to gain. And now you realize you need to receive in order to create. You guys. You see, I went car shopping today, not for me because I don't particularly like to drive. I always tell God, you're going to have to send me a husband who can give me a driver, because that's not something that I want to do. But I went with a friend of mine, and they were looking at $70,000 vehicles, you guys. Now, the last time that I bought a car, I remember when you could get a pretty decent one. This is like in the 2010s. You could probably get a decent one for like 20 grand. Now you can't do that. And it made me start thinking about why they wanted this vehicles, because the other people at church had big trucks like that. And I started thinking, in that particular church that I got to, where there are millions upon millions of dollars in those seats, from the actual physical cash available to the properties, to the cars that are even in the parking lot. So many people in there feel like their life is based off of what they can consume. And nobody received any of that. I seriously doubt that of those thousands of people in that auditorium, very many of them received a house. Very many of them received a car. They didn't. They all went out there and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked so that they could consume and then create life. And God is telling me that that is the difference here. You are no longer to think that you have to go out there and work in order to do. You need to receive so that you can create. And all of the other things will be added to you if you just do it that way. That's the essence of living through faith. Knowing that I don't need my effort to automatically equal this thing. I've been influenced my entire life. How many of you out there received enough love, received the care, received the house, most people don't. We don't receive in order to have. We think that we have to go work in order to do. This is what we tell everybody. Our parents tell us, our friends tell us, our family tell us, and we eventually start telling ourselves. We don't think that we can go out there and receive, hey, Alicia, why don't you just buy the sewing machine and start making clothes? And think that someday a house will come of that. A spouse will come of that. The children will come. The resources will come of that. As too much. It requires faith in order to live that way. And so God is telling me, Alicia, you're moving from a consumer to a receiver. You're moving from a life by sight to a life by faith. And nobody has taught you how to do that. And so now that I've made it to this promised land, or the understanding that I am loved here, mainly by God first, I have to start living off of that faith. I have to start hearing, receiving the word from God. And this, if I have the resources to buy what he wants me to buy, do what he wants me to do, then do it. Do it without thinking that buying this particular sewing machine or going to this particular place is going to break me. It's not. It's by faith that when I step out and do these things that God tells me to do, I am creating for his kingdom. And he will add on to me all of the things that I need to continue for. So I think that part of the reason why a lot of us are going through that whole parental breakup, or leaving the old relationships behind, even the ones that we have with ourselves, is so that we can stop what Eve did. Stop thinking that I need to bite the apple, consume in order to create, and realize that God always intended for us to be receivers. Then we create, and we allow him to add on to us. Have a blessed day or night, because it is midnight. Bye.